We are about to have what I believe is going to be an interesting conversation. I'm quite confident of it. We're going to talk to Kate Zernike. She's a national correspondent for the New York Times, and she's written a book about the Tea Party, folks. It's called Boiling Mad: Inside Tea Party America. So, Kate, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great to have you here. All right, I think that we might have some disagreement, which is going to be interesting, but I'm not sure. So let's see how it turns out. First, tell me your impression. Tell me how you got inside Tea Party America, and tell me what your impression of it is.
Well, I was assigned to cover the conservative movement for the New York Times in 2009, and it was pretty obvious at the end of 2009 that where the energy was in the conservative movement was with the Tea Party, and that they were, when you think about after Obama was elected, conservatives were feeling very demoralized and like they were going to spend years in the wilderness, and the Tea Party came along and kind of, brought them out of that, brought all sorts of new energy to them. So I got interested mostly because I sort of, like everyone else, kind of assumed this was all about rallies and noise and signs, and then I went and started talking to people, and they were telling me that they were actually they were organizing, and they were running for these really low-level positions in the Republican Party because they wanted to take over the Republican Party and force it to choose more conservative candidates. And I was sort of struck that they had actually figured out that the way you get involved in the politics, that the way you have an impact in American politics, is to start at the bottom and work your way up. And these aren't glory positions. They're not. You don't get money for it. You don't get your name in the newspaper or anything. But this is how they had figured out this is how you impact change. And I think what we're seeing now with all these primaries, with the Tea Party victories in all these primaries, is kind of the fruits of that. Because they had been organizing for so many months now, and they had been looking for a way to force the Republican Party to choose more conservative candidates, and that's what we're seeing happen in places like Delaware and Alaska and Colorado and a whole bunch of different states.
All right, I'm only half buying that. Are they real folks who are, care about politics and get involved on the grassroots level? Of course I believe what you're writing in the book. I get that, right? I don't think they're artificial people. I don't think they're robots, right? But there is something enormously inauthentic about the movement, and that's the part I'm not buying, right? So they decide, hey, I'm going to go into politics. That's lovely. Progressives do that throughout the country as well, and that's all a great part of our democracy. Here's the difference. They get a gigantic sum of money, these groups do, from the richest people in the country, and they, goad these folks to going and cutting taxes for billionaires.
You know what? I think this is not what I found. I don't think that, I think there are groups who are, I think you're probably referring to the Koch brothers. And I think we all know that the Koch brothers are spending a lot of money on the initiative in California, the environmental initiative to roll back environmental standards. That is absolutely true. But if you think about it, it doesn't cost so much money to run a little local Tea Party. And if you look at the way, for instance, the Tea Party helped Scott Brown win in Massachusetts in January, they were all small donations that were coming in. Scott Brown was pulling in $1 million a day, but it was in small donations across the country, which is, again, the way Barack Obama won the presidency. I'm not saying you have to like this. I'm just saying you have to understand the way they're organizing and the importance of their organizing. I'm not saying money doesn't matter. For instance, this group Tea Party Patriots, which is sort of the most grassroots of the groups, today got $1 million anonymous donation. So that's a big deal, right? But these groups didn't start out with a lot of money. They're not, I don't think the Koch brothers are funding any local Tea Parties. They're not. The Koch brothers were not responsible for putting Tea Parties on the map.
No, look again.
if you have evidence to the contrary, that's fine. But I think the more important thing is to understand how they're organizing, because really that's how they're winning these victories. And
right.
they're taking a playbook from the left. You talked about how progressives organize, and that is true. They are looking at the way progressives have organized. They're reading Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And they're doing the same thing. It's quite remarkable, actually. It's quite a turnaround.
I just heard Jerome Corsi, conservative, leader,
book guy, yeah,
telling me that Saul Alinsky has dedicated his book to Lucifer, and that that's why Obama's with Lucifer. I can't believe that the Tea Party is doing the same thing. But anyway, seriously, look, I understand what you're saying. And again, those people, I'm sure they organize in their own way, and et cetera, and they didn't get a secret check from the Koch brothers at a local place in Delaware or Alaska, whatever it might be, right? So on that micro level. But let's look at it on a macro level. First of all, when the buses show up, somebody paid for the buses. So when they went to those healthcare demonstrations where they said, oh, no, we want the insurance companies to be richer, yeah! Who sent the buses? The Koch brothers sent the buses.
No,
And other
I think
sent
you're
the
wrong.
buses.
I think you're wrong, actually. I think a lot of people paid, they paid their $350 to get on the bus. You got to understand, these people are passionate about what they're doing. They're very driven in this. You can dislike it, but you need to fight them on the ideas, and you need to fight them with organization. You can't just I think it's a mistake to write them off as, just rich billionaires again. And the proof that this is not, so orchestrated for the benefit of the Republican Party is Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. Because Christine O'Donnell, the Republicans didn't want her to win. Even these, the groups like Freedom Works, which have helped the Tea Party organize, they didn't think Christine O'Donnell should win the primary because they don't think she's going to win the general election. And that means the seat's going to go to a Democrat, which is not what they want. The victory of Christine O'Donnell in Delaware was these local Tea Party activists who really didn't like Mike Castle, who she was running against. They thought he was too moderate, and so they organized against him. And they thought, they saw that they could have an opening if they just got enough people to the polls.
We're talking to Kate Zernike. She's written the book Boiling Mad Inside Tea Party America. Kate, a couple of things based on what you just said. Number one, look, I've been to a lot of progressive, anti-war, whatever it might be, protests. There are no buses. Because nobody organized the buses. Even if you say that some people paid to get on the bus, those poor people that wasted their money. Okay, look, I disagree with them, so I think of that, right? But it's not just my disagreement. I'll get to that in a second. But somebody organized the buses. And you know who it was. It was the Tea Party Express, the Tea Party Patriots, etc. And when we get to that issue, look, you mentioned the Tea Party Patriots. I was going to mention that. But Tea Party Express, they spent $1 million in 2008. In 2010, they're spending $5 million.
But they're not spending it on buses. Tea Party Express is important to know about because they're spending it on television ads. But they're not spending it on buses.
But both Freedom Works, Americans for Prosperity, all those groups, they spend it on buses. And buses, of course.
They're not spending it on buses. They're spending it on other things that you need to pay attention to, like ads on television.
No,
that's
both. No, the reason I mention the buses is it's. I don't want to obsess about that.
Have you seen expenditure reports where they spend on buses? Because I've seen people. Go to busczar.com. It's this guy in Indiana who's running buses from Indiana to Washington. I mean, it's really small bore, but this is happening. And I think if you keep saying it's just paid for by these AstroTurf groups, you're making a mistake because you're letting them organize. While you're debating this, whether it's AstroTurf or not, they're out there continuing to organize.
Look, the buses are symbolic for infrastructure. You need money for infrastructure. And they have the money, and the money's coming from billionaires. And that goes to my central point, which is, and by the way, the Tea Party Express, and I know they're running ads, and I know that's the number one problem, but they gave Christine O'Donnell, Grassroots, et cetera, $237,000. Joe Miller, Mr. Grassroots, got $600,000. That wasn't nickel and dimes. That was billionaires giving those people money. And yes, they're not pro-Republican. They're more extreme than Republican. They're way radical right.
Again, look, the donations to Tea Party Express, they're still coming in small dollar numbers. These aren't billionaires giving huge. I mean, in some cases, look, again, Tea Party Patriots had $1 million donation today from an anonymous donor. That's something we need to watch. But a lot of the donations to Tea Party Express are small donations. Look, this is you actually sound like the Tea Party when they talk about the left, because what they say is, the left busses in all these union people and they come with their pre-made T-shirts and their pre-made signs. So they would argue that there are buses at union rallies and things like that.
No.
I just think, again, if everyone goes to their own side and argues, their own case into their own echo chamber, into their own websites, we're never going to get anywhere. I mean, I think people need to understand this movement, understand the passion and the organizing behind it. And if you don't agree with it, you need to organize right back.
You see, Kate, you're missing part of my frustration because I haven't gotten to it yet, to be fair to you, right? Because the frustration is actually with their message, which their initial reason for forming, I didn't mind. I don't think I even disagreed with it. I think they've been hoodwinked. So, and when you say, labor organizes buses, of course they do. They have a lot of money, so they organize buses. So if they say that about labor, they're right? And we're not disagreeing over the donations. Have they gotten small donations? I'm sure they have. And you've, watched it, tracked it. I believe you. They've also gotten large donations, and you agree with that. The problem is those large donations have directed these guys into arguing for more tax cuts for the top 2% of the country, which they're not in. They've misdirected them into thinking, oh my God, Obama's not giving me a tax cut, and that they think they're fighting for themselves. They're not. They're fighting for the richest people in the country. They fight for deregulation. Why? Are they going to pollute the environment? No. The Koch brothers pollute the environment, and they trick these Tea Party guys whose original purpose was to fight the bailout into never fighting against the bailout, but instead fighting to make the Koch brothers richer.
No, they're fighting against the bailouts. They're fighting against bailouts. They're fighting against health care. They're fighting against a lot more than just tax cuts.
All right, there we have a real disagreement.
Healthcare, you got to be kidding me. The Tea Party desperately wants to repeal the health care. That's what they're talking about all over the place.
Yeah, of course, because that helps corporate America. That helps the insurance companies. So, of course, they're fighting against health care because they've been directed, the suckers that they are, into doing that. Okay, so when you talk about bailouts, Kate, you did a book and it's got facts in it, and I'm not disputing the things that are in the book, and we've had a conversation about it. So you tell me the facts. When was there a Tea Party, any Tea Party protest on Wall Street? Go ahead.
On Wall Street, they don't blame Wall Street. They blame Congress. They're very open about this. They don't think they want more free market. They're extremely open about this. And this is where, I think there was a moment when left and right might have agreed on the bailouts, but they don't blame Wall Street. They think that actually there should be more free enterprise so that they believe that that's the way to create jobs. Again, I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm saying you need to understand their argument. They're not saying that they're not protesting Wall Street. They're not pretending to protest Wall Street.
No. Look, when it started, and I could be wrong, but when it started, it appeared that they were angry that the banks got bailed out with our money, that the banks shouldn't have gotten our money, and the banks should give it back. Now, everybody's forgotten about the banks. Who cares what they did, right? So let's concentrate on government. And what's the answer? The answer is let the banks do whatever they want so they can take our money again. I mean, that is...
Well, we know this movement is riddled with contradictions. We know that. But look, what they were saying was not necessarily just we don't want the banks to get the money. They were saying we don't want the government spending this money. They didn't think the government should be spending the money on the stimulus, okay? They didn't think the government should be spending the money on these infrastructure jobs. That's what their argument was. But I don't know, it's sort of, we're arguing past each other. It's not as though I'm endorsing the Tea Party argument, but I just think you need to understand it, and that's why I'm suggesting that people read my book, Boiling Mad, and you can read an excerpt on it on my website, which is katezernike.com. And, I think, again, we need to understand a broader theme about the Tea Party. It's not just billionaires coming in and producing some AstroTurf movement.
Well, see, that's our central disagreement, Kate. I mean, because we agree on a lot of the facts, et cetera, as people that have been listening understand. But it seems to me that they have been directed in every shape, way, and form to protect every large corporation and large business interest and rich person in the country. Now, I don't know if that was their intention. Maybe it is. Maybe that's where I'm getting it wrong. Maybe the Tea Party started and said, yes, we love rich people. Let's make sure they get richer. If that's the case, then mission accomplished.
The other thing we need to understand about the Tea Party, and again, this is in my book, Boiling Mad, is the Tea Party actually people think of the Tea Party as being sort of these lower middle class people. They're not actually. The people in the Tea Party, people who are supportive of this, make more money than the average American, and they have more education than the average American, or a higher level of education.
Do they make on average over $250,000?
There are more people in the Tea Party making over $250,000 than there are in the country at large.
Well, that's perfectly rational. If they say, "Look, I'm rich and I want to protect my money," okay. I mean, that's a fair debate. If they are making under $250,000, and I suspect the great majority of them are making under $250,000, and then they say, "Oh no, Obama's cutting raising my taxes," well, they're wrong. And the reason they're wrong is because they got fed propaganda by people like the Koch brothers. Isn't that true?
I think you're overstating the Koch brothers' involvement, but that's fine. I think you should read the book and check it out. You'll learn a lot.
All right. It was, as expected, an interesting conversation. Kate Zernike's book is Boiling Mad, Inside Tea Party America. I think that it's got obviously very interesting information in it. I happen to think that based on that information and others, that they are the world's largest suckers. And they are in the business of helping the richest people in the country, and they don't even realize it. But you have much more.
They know. Look, they feel like they've worked hard to get their money, and they want to hang on to it.
If they were all rich, I think that that's perfectly rational. I think
nobody's all rich. No movement could be all rich. There aren't enough rich people to
right. I think my guess is, and I'm just guessing here, that 98% of them make under $250,000. That's why I'm calling them suckers. All right. I could be wrong, though. Maybe they're all mega rich. God bless them.
All right.
Okay, Kate, thank you for your patience with us.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.